So the technique that I used in question number, what was it, 7, is kind of the technique that I've set up here to use to solve for 10. So I know that the general form of an equation, an exponential equation, is y equals ab to the x power. And what I've done is I've taken my x and my y and my x and my y from two different points, and I've created two different equations. One of the equations is 40 equals ab to the third. That's being fed by this point. Y is 40 and x is 3. And the other one is this 1280 equals ab to the 8th, and that's being fed by this point. So the strategy that I have here is I'm going to get a alone in the first equation, and then I'm going to use that as a substitution into the second equation. So let's take a look at that. So get a alone in the first equation. Well, if I write the first equation again, 40 equals ab to the third power. If I want a alone, I can divide both sides by b cubed. And you can see over here this is now a giant 1. Those cancel. And what this tells me then is that a would have to equal 40 divided by b to the third power. So a equals 40 divided by b cubed. Now that's a, and I'm going to use this value of a as a substitution into the second equation. So real clearly here what I'm saying is that this is a, and it's going to go right here into that second equation. At that point we'll only have b's involved, so that'll look a lot better for us to solve. So let's take a look at that. So the 1280 I rewrite. Instead of writing a, I'm going to write 40 divided by b to the third power, and then I'm going to multiply that by b to the 8th power, and I'm going to choose to write it over 1. So if you look at this, this can be simplified, right? I've got 8 factors of b in this numerator. Let me rewrite this. So I've got 40 b to the 8th, and I've got 3 factors of b in my denominator. Well, there's lots of ways you can do that, but there's definitely a giant one of b to the third over b to the third. So I'm going to just write this unceremoniously as 40 times b to the 5th power. So if this is confusing why I'm doing that, just go back and think about definitions of exponents. But that is b to the 5th power. 8 factors of b in the numerator, 3 factors of b in the denominator. You're left with 5 factors of b in the numerator. Now to get b to the 5th alone, I'm going to divide both sides of this by 40. And when I divide by 40, I had to check that with the calculator, but 1,280 divided by 40 is 32, and that equals b to the 5th power. So some number gets multiplied. There's 5 factors of this value, right? Something times something times something, 5 of them, and you get a value of 32. So the question is, what is that factor? What is that base? And the easiest way for us to deal with this is just to take the 5th root of both sides. If I take the 5th root of the right hand side, I get the 5th root of 32, not 23, of 32, and that would equal the 5th root of b to the 5th is b. So now turns out we've got a convenient way of calculating 5th roots on our calculator if you're not aware of what that particular one would be. Let me bring the calculator up here, turn it on, clear the screen. So it looks like this. We've hit 5 on our calculator screens. We've been hitting math, and then we've been going down to option 5, which is a particular root. So this, it looks better on the calculators in the classroom, but this is roughly the 5th root of, and then you put of what? Of 32. So the 5th root of 32 equals the number 2. Now it's easy to verify that by using the equation right above it, right? If I take 2 and I raise it to the 5th power, notice I get 32, right? So b is clearly the number 2. So I know an important part of this answer. I know that b is the number 2. The only thing I need to figure out is what's a. Go back to what we're asked for. They're asking us to write an equation in the form y equals ab to the x, ab to the x. We know that b is 2. We just need to figure out what a is. Well, look at how convenient this is. Right? This equation that I wrote says a is going to be 40 divided by b to the third power. Well, b to the third power is the number 8. That's 2 times 2 times 2. Because, I should probably just write down what b is, right? It's 2 to the third power. So that's 40 divided by 8. And 40 divided by 8 is the number 5. So a is 5, and b is the number 2. So can I write that equation? Yeah, absolutely. It is y equals a times b raised to the x power. So there you go. And a great way to check this too is if you just come along and you use 3 for x, you should get 40 for y. Check it out. 5 times 2 to the third power doesn't give me 40. And if I use 8 for x, I should get 1,280. 5 times 2 to the 8th power, and it gives the 1280. So definitely this is the equation of an exponential curve that goes through those 2 points.